You've been married for how many years?
41.
41 years, but who's counting?
41.
41
Yes.
years. And you've told me many times that the secret to your marriage is that you work a lot and you go on the road.
Yeah.
And that made me curious. You've been in quarantine with your wife for a year. How's the marriage doing?
Well, like the pandemic, there's we're trying to plateau. The thing is that that's what did make it work. I realized, and now with the advent of no audiences and no theaters, I'm going crazy being with myself. So I can't imagine what it's like living with. I don't have to imagine. She tells me what it's like living with me. We had in the first 3 months of lockdown, I think around March, April, May. In May, what was March? I can't remember. We celebrated our 40th anniversary, and I said, "Honey," I was trying to be romantic. I said, "You want to redo our vows?" Hers was enough already.
That's her 40-year vow is enough already. What a sweet vow.
Well, she's always been, honesty is her policy, and the truth is, when I'm not around, people seem to like me more than, it's nice if I appear on your show for a few minutes or I go to a concert for an hour and a half. People seem to have fun. Living with me is, I'm telling you this, living with me is no fun. I spend all day just trying to get away from me.
Yeah.
So yeah. I can't imagine how another human being, so I'm hoping at some point when things are open and free that I could get her a medal or a trophy. She is the most deserving person in humanity just for putting up with a world pandemic and Howie Mandel all in the same year.
At the same time.
And even when I do try humor, she'll go, "Was that the joke? Or who was that for?" And that's actually, how the podcast came to be. I ended up calling my daughter, Jacqueline Schultz, who is an influencer in her own right, really smart, a teacher. We used to sit around for hours, and that was if I could make her and I would laugh, we'd make prank calls together. My wife would walk in and she'd hear all this laughter and goes, "What is this for?" And I go, "What do you mean, what is this for?" She goes, "Well, is it for a television show? Is it, what do you read?" And I go, "No, it's just us." She goes, "Well, then record it."
What's nice I would think about the podcast is that you're doing something useful with something that you'd be doing anyway. It sounds to me like your whole life. I mean, I've been around you. The times you've done my show, you're doing pranks backstage. You once had a guy with you who was bleeding from the ear, and we kept asking him, "Is he okay?" And you say, "Oh, don't worry about him. We thought he was having some kind of brain hemorrhage. It turned out he's a friend of yours, and you guys were doing a prank on us." None of it was recorded. This had nothing to do with your appearance on the show. It was just for your own amusement. So now what's nice is you and your daughter are saying, let's capture some of that and waste more people's time with it.
I'm so sorry about that. If you want an apology.
Oh, no, don't.
Sorry. I remember that.
It was funny. It was funny.
From New York, you came to do the show in L.A.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny now. I don't think.
My producer was really worried that this friend of yours was having a brain aneurysm, and he was trying to convince that person. He was thinking about calling an EMT. We got to get this guy a brain scan, and it was you two.
Ben Affleck actually picked him up from the floor. So I brought in, he was supposed to be he was my agent and my PR guy.
Right.
I'm doing Conan. And he had these blood pellets that come out of his ears and his nose, and he was bleeding, and he would be on the floor bleeding, but asking the segment producer, is Howie Mandel going on first? My client, and they go, "Well, you're bleeding. Shouldn't we call somebody?" He goes, "It's not about me. Can I go over this segment with you?"
Yes.
And they're going, "No, sir, you're bleeding. And then it was fun for me just to sit back and watch this chain of events that they would go tell somebody. And you're, 5 minutes away from a huge broadcast network show where you traveled. You're not in your home studio, like you don't have enough. And I've got this idiot, my friend, lying on the floor, blood spewing out, going, "Can we go over the segment one more time?"
Yes.
Before Howie goes on?
I remember thinking that guy's a great agent because, man, that's everyone's dream is an agent who would be bleeding from both ears and still be looking out for your interests and not going to the hospital. That's the dream.